What's up everybody? In this video we're going to go over Iren stocks mining update. We're also going to look at Iren on the chart, and then we're going to look at Bitcoin on the chart, and we have some spot Bitcoin ETF news. We saw Grayscale post their second inflow day. We also had Cypher just report their earnings. They did post a profit. They missed revenue by a couple million, and it seems like the market's dropping it. We'll give Cypher stock a look as well. Now, if you guys get something useful out of this, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Check out the links down below if you're interested in any free stocks or cryptos. And let's look at Iren. So we just received their mining update for the month of April. And this is an interesting month because this is the month where the halving took effect. The Bitcoin miners from the day before the halving to the day after the halving take half the rewards now per every block mined. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with this update. Because of their growth in hash rate, it pretty much offset the 10 days that the halving took effect. Now the big month will be May, because that'll be a full month where the halving has taken effect. I do expect we'll see a little decrease in production in the month of May versus April, and I don't think the hash rate growth will offset that whole month. The 10 days that the halving took effect in April, it was offset. They actually did mine more month over month. You'll see versus March, where they mined 353, in April they mined 358 Bitcoin. And their electricity cost per Bitcoin has actually come down. You'll see how much their hash rate has grown. Their hash rate has grown by over 1.1 exahash month over month. And this has definitely helped them to grow more Bitcoin in a month where the halving took effect. I do expect a drop in the month of May. The rewards have been cut in half for the entire month. And that's all right. That's something we've expected. We expect these miners to take in a little bit less revenue because the mining rewards have been cut. In the coming months, we'll see Bitcoin's price rise, and this will continue to offset the halving. But basically here it is. The monthly mining revenue was flat versus March with the higher hash rate, which was offset by the slightly lower Bitcoin price, increase in network hash rate, and decrease in block subsidy post-halving. Looking at their expansion, it is fully funded and ahead of schedule. In the first half of 2024, they expect to reach 10 exahash. Right now they're at 9.4 exahash. With 10 exahash expected in the coming weeks. This will help out in the month of May, and we might not see as much of a decrease in Bitcoin mined. We might actually see another month where we increase Bitcoin production, although I kind of doubt it. And 10 exahash of new miners is secured for the second half of 2024, bringing them to 20 exahash per second. They have their 816 NVIDIA H100s, which was upsized. They also have some upcoming corporate events, and another thing is they have earnings coming up. This is going to be May 15th on a Wednesday, and this is going to be after market close. And if you want to register for the webcast, I will leave the link down below. You just click on this and register your stuff, and then you're all set to listen to the earnings call when it comes. I'm honestly pretty happy with Iren's monthly Bitcoin mining update. I honestly expected a decline in Bitcoin mined, considering in that month there was 10 days where the halving took effect and they took half the rewards per block. Now, as we approach earnings, here's one thing I don't want to see. I don't want to see us pump into earnings. We did this last time. And while they beat revenue expectations, they missed their EPS estimates. They were expected to see a profitable quarter. They saw another loss. This did about 130% leading up to earnings. They posted earnings, and then we had a sell-off. If we start seeing a push up towards this trend line by earnings, I'll be very careful. If we get some unfavorable numbers, if they give us a negative EPS, if they miss revenue expectations, this will likely bring us down to test our lows. I would expect that we'll run up a little bit in anticipation of earnings. Most miners have been giving pretty good earnings out. We have been seeing some revenue misses, but we have been seeing positive EPS. And Cypher actually just reported their earnings. They posted a positive EPS, they posted a profit, but they did miss their revenue expectations. And it's a similar story with Riot. So it seems like if they're going to miss something this earnings, I think it's going to be revenue. I really hope they see a positive EPS. But that's likely what the market's going to be waiting for. I'll be very careful if we do pump leading up to earnings, because then it will rely on fantastic results to keep moving. Now I want to bring up Cypher real quick. They did miss their revenue expectation, but they did beat their earnings. They posted a profitable quarter. They posted a net income. And one reason this might be falling here, obviously besides them missing revenue expectations, is the fact that this ran up 30% in a matter of 5 days leading up to earnings. Because they didn't beat top line and bottom line, the market decided to drop this. It ran up in anticipation of earnings, and it didn't give amazingly stellar results. In my opinion, it's great results, but it's not what the market expected. It's not in line with expectations, so that gives the market the reason to drop it. Now, I honestly think on weakness, Cypher would be a great stock to add to. This is not one that I own, but in reality, I might have to scoop some up. Looking at Bitcoin, I'm showing you guys the Heikinashi candles. It does look like we're continuing our uptrend, but I want to see how this candle closes. Typically, when you get a doji-like candle, you start seeing reverse. We saw one here. We saw one here where we started to reverse. Saw one here where we started to reverse. Saw one here where we started to reverse. So keep an eye on this candle. If you don't see a big body it's something to be a little worried about. One thing you'll also see is we're finding resistance on the 50 of the RSI. I would like to see us break the 50, start trending higher on the RSI. One thing we're starting to see is a little bit of divergence. You're seeing the RSI coming down here, whereas the price was starting to rise. Now looking at the fib retracement tool, if we start pulling back, look for that 0.5, that 0.618. This is right around 61 to 60,000. And I personally expect we would bounce around there. And then like I showed you guys yesterday, we would see somewhat of a head and shoulders if we start pulling back, find support and bounce at that fib level. This would be a perfect inverse head and shoulders, and we could potentially start heading higher. But I am watching for the RSI to break above 50 and keep a close eye on the 50 MA. We keep finding it as resistance. Once we broke it, you see that we retested it and failed. We came to retest it again, failed. We're coming to retest it again, failed. Keep an eye on that 50 MA. I do think once we finally break it, we are going to head higher. Right now, it's turning out to be quite the resistance. Now, I also wanted to talk about this article going over the spot Bitcoin ETFs and the Hong Kong ETFs. And it says US Bitcoin ETFs see record outflows as Hong Kong counterparts thrive. You'll see this chart here that they showed, it looks very negative. You'll see on the long term, things are great. Year to date, we see inflows, net inflows here. But when you look month to date, week to date, you'll see a lot of negative. But I think they're leaving out the big picture here. GBTC or Grayscale has now seen 2 consecutive inflow days. After nothing but outflows, they saw 2 inflow days. And you might remember that ibit posted an outflow day for the first time last week. See here on the 1st of May, you'll see that ibit posted an outflow. Well, after that, we got a 12.7 million inflow after they saw no flows. And then yesterday, we saw a great day for the spot Bitcoin ETFs. We saw either inflows or no flows. We did not see any outflows from any of them. We saw 21 million inflow from ibit. We saw Fidelity post nearly 100 million. We saw about 75 million from ARK. The only ones we saw no inflows from was, I believe, Van Eck and Wisdom Tree. But yeah, yesterday was a great day for the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Hopefully we continue to see days like that this week. And the reality is, even with all this selling from GBTC, well, now they're going back to being buyers again, but look at the big picture, you know, with these spot Bitcoin ETFs, even with all this selling from GBTC that we have seen, we still have over 11 billion in net inflows from the spot Bitcoin ETFs. All these other funds have more than made up for GBTC's selling. The cumulative flow of investments into the spot Bitcoin ETF market is nearly 11.8 billion at the time of them writing. I think there's a relief to not see ibit posting outflows now. We did see an outflow last week, and luckily they aren't giving us more outflows, at least as it stands so far. And as per GBTC, we actually saw more inflows, which is fantastic. I do think regardless of these recent developments, we are still going to see ibit flip GBTC, although it might take a little bit longer than expected, obviously, if we're seeing inflows from GBTC. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know what miners you're looking out for. We do have CleanSpark's earnings coming up. We of course have Iren coming up in about a week. And despite the market's initial reaction, I do think these are pretty good earnings so far. We are seeing some profitable Bitcoin miners. I expect CleanSpark to post a profitable quarter, perhaps also Iren. But I do expect it to be an overall good month for the Bitcoin miners. Let's just hope Bitcoin works in our favor.